Hello everybody, this is Reverie Planetarian, as wherever I go, I'm gonna build cars. Wait, that doesn't sound quite right, but it doesn't matter because that's what I'm going to do here in Automation. Now, I've had fun building engines, but this time I want to build a full-sized car, and I'm going to do something which is kind of based off something that Failrace did a little while back when he first started playing Automation, or rather when the channel's host Alex did. He decided he was going to make the ultimate K-car. Now, for those who don't know, a K-car is a certain kind of specification for cars in Japan, where they're very light, they've got very small engines, and are supposedly very low power. And this means they are very cheap and economical to build and own. The only body we have so far in Automation that fits the criteria, it can't be longer than 11.2 feet, it can't be wider than 4.9, and it can't be taller than 6.6 feet, is this, right here, which is apparently a front-engined, it's a front-engine car, and that actually kind of makes me a little sad, right? Because the K cars that I know of are things like the Honda Beat, the AutoZam AZ1, also known as the Suzuki Kara, and really, I love those cars because they show just how flexible the K car rules can be. Today we're going to follow all of them except for one. The displacement rules say that you can only have a legal K-car, that is, it's taxed as lightly as a K-car is, up to 660 cubic centimeters with a maximum power of 63 horsepower. What we're going to do is we're going to follow all those rules except the horsepower rule. So this is going to be a really hairy design. And to do that, we're going to communicate it with giant wheel arches, all sorts of other decorations and accoutrements. We're going to basically make a K Supercar. Out of all these right here. And we're going to use all the top flight parts. We're using pushrod suspension like an F1 car in a K car. My God, what are we doing? All right, I'm going to brand this as one of mine with something I really like to do in these kinds of cars. Just gonna take these a little more. Come on, go this way. Yeah, no. There we go. Just that a little bit. Stretch them. Get this sort of a look. Oh. Huh. There we go. Yeah, if Automation is going to be adding anything else, what I really wish they'd add is the I really wish that they'd add those kinds of bodies. 'Cause, like, there are people like me who really want to play with those kinds of cars, and what I think Automation should partially be about is getting to build these kinds of weird car companies. And I'm sure that the final version, people will try to build all sorts of unusual companies, and I think that's really part of the fun of a game like this, where you get to build everything from scratch. And I know that you could probably get those sorts of specialty parts from, say, the Steam Workshop or mods, but I always think it's better when when it's an official thing, because it kind of shows that the developers are actually listening to what people are saying and kind of taking suggestions from what people think might be fun. And I like seeing that kind of communication between developers and players. That's my thoughts on that moment, and now I'm just going to try and concentrate on building this car. Again, the bumper's kind of keeping me from doing maybe what I really want to do with this car, but I should be able to make what I'd like regardless. After all, this doesn't seem to be too hampered by a lack of... Oh, come on, there we go. Doesn't seem too hampered by a lack of these kinds of parts. But again, it'd be really fun if we could get those sorts of things maybe in the future? Who can say, right? These vents aren't just so the car looks really aggressive. Automation does take all these into account, and you have to make sure that you provide enough cooling, or else your engine and your car aren't really going to perform the way they should. If I'm going to be putting in as much power as I really want, that means I have to make sure my cooling is spot on. I wish I could put some vents back here, but for a car with a front-mounted engine, that wouldn't really make much sense. I guess if I wanted to, I could put an exhaust vent here, and I'll try and do that right now without it looking really silly. Zoom in so I can get sort of the hood line in line with it. And that doesn't look so bad. Let me see if I can add these to the tops of the wheel arches. No, I can't. The reason that you might want to do that is, of course, because air gets trapped in the wheel wells here at high speed, and there we go. Yeah, if you have vents that you place in here like this, then what you can do is you can force that air to stop collecting in the wheel arches, and that allows you to keep the car stuck to the ground because the wheel arches are no longer trying to lift it up. Very interesting. The world of auto aerodynamics. And you find solutions like this that maybe you see on all kinds of performance cars, but you never really think about until somebody explains them to you. And can we place a similar pair here? Well, we could, but it'd probably break the rendering a little bit. So we'll just make sure to put on all the requisite performance parts, like this splitter here, keep the car planted on the ground, and a wing also to keep it planted on the ground. We could have a really crazy race wing, but that's a problem. It doesn't really look huh. Yeah. I see what we might have to do if we want to put a wing on it is we'd have to do it sort of Peugeot style, like the not 905, what was it, the 205, where it had to have a wing back here. Like it had to have it sitting over the rear window. Oh man, that looks really silly. I wish I could place one back here. I really do. Let me see if I can do that again. Just click on this wing right here. Move it up this way, and no, I really can't. I can make it really huge though, which is probably kind of funny. Yeah, no, that ain't happening. Oh no, I accidentally moved the lights out of alignment. Yeah, okay. So we can't really have that sort of wing going on there, so why don't we just put this... Yeah, that is so annoying. And all of them come out like this. What about this one right here? Oh, well. We'll just put this wing over here and call it a day. We've got better things to do now, such as designing the rest of the car. Oh boy. Well, let's go for why don't we go for a sort of... Uh-oh. Well, first we'll wait for the game to catch up a little bit, and then we'll give it the sort of Lamborghini lime green, so that everybody knows this is a supercar, I guess. And what we'll do is we'll make this... why don't we make it all-wheel drive? Because there are numerous K cars out there, especially some performance tall boys, which looked like this. And now we get to the fun part, which is actually building the engine. And because I already know the specs, I kind of have to do it all... I have to do it all freehand. So what would I want? Well... let's try this and see what happens. Alright, so we can't have a V8. Which is kind of a shame. Engine too big to fit in car. Okay, we're going to have to go back and... I'm going to have to go back and change some things about the configuration here. Oh, that's really irritating. What I really wanted to do is I wanted to have it... I guess I can't have it longitudinal is the problem there. Alright. There we go. So let's get this down to K-car size. That's right under 660, and we'll essentially treat it like a Formula 1 engine, where we're trying to stuff as many cams and whatnot into a free-breathing engine. In fact, let's see if we can't get away with making a aw, okay, we can't make a Ferrari style V8 because it'd be too big. That kind of sucks. But we can still work with it. It's essentially placing a superbike engine inside a very small car. I'm certain it would be too big if we made it a V12. Having a tiny V12 in a little thing like this would be hilarious, but unfortunately we don't get it. So we're stuck with a V6. Well, not stuck with the V6. I'm sure we could make something of it, but oh, how fun it would have been. That's another thing I wish this game had. I really, really wish that this game would let you make flat engines, so you could, say, replicate a Porsche 911 or something like that. It's not letting me render any more styles, so we'll just go with this color right here, and we'll keep moving. Now, most of these K cars, right, they make most of their power with turbocharged engines, but I want to see what happens first if we make it normally aspirated. Just because I want to see what would work better for a car like this. If you want really direct, normally aspirated throttle response, or if you just want to go crazy power with like crazy high power with some turbocharger arrangement that probably won't be doing the engine any favors. But alright, here we go. We've got a projected power of 84.4 horsepower starting here, so let's see where this test brings us. There we go. We've got a peak power of 84.4 horsepower, and let's see what happens if we... Alright. If we start playing with the settings and seeing where we can get this car to. Got a nice broad power curve and a red line straight to the moon, essentially. And if we pump up the compression, if we really pump up the compression, we start losing power. But until we get to that point, it is basically saying that we could have really high compression. We could run really high compression on this car, and it wouldn't care all that much. All these points here would be totally fine, and we would get a car that gets about 109 horsepower from a little over half a liter of engine, which is really, really interesting. And now, let's see if we turn the compression back down. Because now we're going to do what all the K-car guys do, and that's turbocharge this engine. And turbocharge it something crazy. Well, that's about as big as we can get it, and now we start pumping up the power and getting some really stupid turbo lag. So let's not mess about with that for the sake of drivability. Although if we pump up the boost, we can get a really peaky engine that just has the nuts rubbed off it. Although then the turbines really start protesting, so we let it breathe a little better, it breathes just a hair better. And now as we pump up the fuel mixture to get more power out of it, we're already breaking 208 horsepower. And if we pump up the compression, we blow up the engine. No, we get this. And we can't really take the cam profiles any higher. And this compressor and this turbine really feel like they can't breathe. And unfortunately, that's all we can really do. And this engine, as you can see right here, it almost looks like it'd be more, or just as much, turbocharger as it is engine. We're not going to go like full-on race technology, because really what we want this car to be, right, is what we'd really rather this car be, right, is we'd really rather it was a street car. Right? We want this to be a supercar, kinda, not a full-blown race car. Although it's a car that has some really terrible turbo lag. You have to rev the nuts off it to get any power out of it. Oh, it's a really awful power curve. But hey, once you get there, you get there. Oh, that didn't sound healthy. Huh. Alright, direct injection, throttle per cylinder it is. And that really is all you can do. Huh. Alright, maybe if you back off the ignition time. They always tell you that if you really want a turbo engine to stay alive, you back off from the ignition timing and you lower the compression, and that's supposed to protect the life of the engine, right? It seems they really don't go in for that here. It seems like the ignition timing has to be all the way up, and you have to go hell-bent for leather. And that's going to be what gets you to those really high power numbers that you want. Okay, alright, sure, whatever. And I guess this is just it is just a game, so it's not going to be a perfect simulation, I guess, but I don't know, I was just thinking. And I guess maybe that's my problem. Well, anyway, we want a really fast we want a quick car out of this, and holy cow. Boy, do we ever get a fast car out of this. It's telling me that it'll do something like 187 miles per hour. And I'll just go ahead and do this sort of double clutch K-car thing. It's a K hypercar. And again, this is kind of meant to be a supercar, right? So we'll pump up the rubber as much as we possibly can, and we'll go with 2 8.5s in the front and 3 1.5s in the back. Carbon fiber, of course. We'll go for these kinds of rims. Carbon ceramics, 4 pistons. I'm going to now at this point it's just on trying to keep weight down. The downforce under tray. Maybe we want it to be something like this for the sake of cornering. It only really gets two seats, right? I think for a car like this, that's all you can really do as far as safety goes. And lower the height just a bit. Well, that's amazing. The drivability and sportiness of this car are 0. But let's take it here and just see what happens. I'm not expecting much. Wait a minute. Let's check that top speed for a minute. 124, right? So what I need to do is I need to gear this way the heck back. So I really should have followed what the graphs would have told me, and bring this down to 129 and space the gears sort of this way, I suppose. This is 0 to 60 time of 4.2 seconds. It's the craziest thing I think I've ever really built. So, okay. Now that we know what we do, let's go back to the airfield track and see just what we've built. That's amazing. This car has a power curve, kind of like the front half of a Supercar, but you cannot use it. You can't use the little revs at all. This car did it in 1 minute, 16.94 seconds. I've built a weird car. It's almost a ton in weight. It's just 250 pounds off. That's amazing. And its weight distribution, as I figured, is all up front. You have so much power, but so much of it is in the top end that you almost wonder why you have it, and it's like... I don't know what this is like. It's like I've built a sports car that embodies all the worst excesses of the very first turbo era of Formula One, back in the early 80s, where you had loads of power, not all that much grip as soon as the turbos kicked in, and the lag was horrendous. But hey, it's a power card, so, well, what can you really do, right? Well, I guess my Ultimate K car really isn't as ultimate as I would have liked to think, and, well, who knows? Maybe, due to its problems, Fail Races won this one, but I'll be back to try and figure out where I can fix this a little bit. See you all then.